He's being sentenced on a charge that he killed, or he was convicted of the fact that he killed the boyfriend of his former ex-girlfriend.
That's right.
And it was really just a horrible, horrible case. And it has been postponed for a number of days because he's been sick with first COVID and then something else. And as you said, today in the courtroom, his head is on the table while people are delivering their statements.
Yes, and he appears to be in a wheelchair as well. Well, let's right now listen as Court TV's Ted Rollins catches us up on the case.
You're the one who killed Mr. Fierro, right?
Yes, I've testified to that.
You put 6 bullets in his body, correct?
Yes, I understand that.
Jesse Alvarez was convicted in March of 2024 of first-degree murder and lying in wait for the death of his former girlfriend's new fiancé. Jurors believed prosecutors who said that Alvarez planned the murder after seeing this image posted to social media, announcing Mario Fierro's engagement to Amy Gembarra. Alvarez Googled how to kill your ex's fiancé and how to shoot someone in self-defense. He also took classes at a gun range and had some interesting questions for the instructor.
He had asked me where is the best place to shoot someone to kill them. But then he asked me a follow-up question. He said, well, what about the back of the head?
On February 1st, 2021, Alvarez went to Fierro's home and waited outside for an hour. When Fierro left for work as a Catholic school teacher, Alvarez shot him 6 times, including 2 shots to the forehead and 2 more to the back of the head. Alvarez told the jury that Fierro attacked him, and the gun went off during a struggle.
He got his fingers around the trigger and he pulled it, and the gun discharged, and I screamed because I was so afraid.
Jurors didn't see it that way.
Verdict count 1, we, the jury in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Jesse Milton Alvarez, guilty.
Alvarez now faces life in prison without the possibility of parole.
All right, so as you mentioned earlier, Alvarez is out of quarantine and he's actually masked up. Actually, he's not masked up,
no,
I don't
he's
think.
not.
In the live shot we saw earlier,
table.
His head was on the table. For that sentencing hearing, let's get inside that courtroom for victim impact statements.
My name is Amy Gembarra, and I would like to thank Judge Goldstein and the Court of San Diego for due process of the law for finally allowing me to share my voice today. Thank you for allowing the voices of Mario's loved ones to be heard. Thank you to those who've helped along the way, especially the continued work for justice of the Domestic Violence and Victim Advocate Program. Mario Fierro was my beloved fiance who was maliciously murdered by Jesse Alvarez. One moment, Mario and I were planning our wedding. Then the next moment, our loved ones were planning his funeral. None of our loved ones expected this to happen, nor do we want to be at this sentencing today. Through this agonizing journey, I learned that the primary loss is the person, and the secondary losses continue. That murderer's actions endangered many lives, including my family, Mario's family, our friends, even the CCHS community. When he took Mario's life, he also took away my security, safety, confidence, life direction, my community, and my job stability. My loss is significant and multi-layered. I haven't felt safe since that convict attempted to break into my apartment in 2019. He made it his full-time job to stalk me and eventually Mario. He harassed me to the point of exhaustion with creepy tactics of trying to contact me. This abnormal behavior infiltrated my life in so many ways that I've had to seek therapy and a lot of support to navigate all of the fear and anger causing me much distress every day for years. My family has painfully watched me suffer through numerous holidays and anniversaries that were supposed to be joyful moments. That murderer had time to change his mind, and yet he chose to execute Mario. He is fully responsible for Mario's death. If Alvarez is ever released or tries to contact me, I will continue to fear for my life and safety and those of my loved ones, because he continues to show a lack of remorse despite committing a first-degree murder while lying in wait. I believe life imprisonment without parole is justified based on his actions, and I leave that to God and the judge. Now to share about the man that I love, Mario. Mario was loyal, genuine, hilarious, and unapologetically a coach, teacher, son, brother, friend, and fiance. He lived life to the fullest and was all in. Mario's confidence and faith were contagious, and he could light up a room with his energetic spirit. That's what I loved about him. I felt secure in Mario's love for me and had the gift of knowing his love every day. He exhibited a healthy relationship through communication, trust, and boundaries. Together, Mario and I shared our faith, vocation to educate teens, and enjoy life in San Diego. We discussed plans for our future, including marriage and family. Our wedding was already in the planning stages, with each of us excited to start what should have been one of the happiest moments of our lives. Though I am here 4 years after Mario's life was taken, I am ready to leave behind the label of victim and trade it to survivor. I stand for those whose voices cannot be heard. I stand for women who have experienced domestic violence, not here today, who had to deal with men who cannot take no for an answer. Mario's life illuminated what love is supposed to be here on earth. That murderer tried to take Mario's light by taking his life. But the thing about light is once you experience it, you are changed by it forever. He took Mario's life, but he cannot ever erase Mario's memories and positive impact. I choose not to focus on the darkness, but to close with John 1:5. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. May the perpetual light shine forever upon Mario's soul, and may God bless and heal the wounded hearts who loved him.
Amy Gembarra, what an amazing soul to be there and first give the victim impact statement, but then say, I'm ready to leave behind the title of victim and trade it for survivor.
Yeah, and it was really sort of this homage to this person who died, the person that she loved, and the love that she found.
Right.
And she wanted to really praise that and then give this guy a lot of time. But what really struck me, she talked about losing her safety, her security, and her self-confidence. You don't realize the effect that this type of killing has, where you're being stalked and your whole life is being invaded. It's just, and I thought she embodied that very well.
I think so too, and a victim impact statement, of course, is to give every victim an opportunity to be heard. But Michael, the way that she's presented it, I think it's been one of the most impactful, to your point, to make you realize the effect this man convicted of murder has had on all of the people in Mario's life.
Yeah, and not only that, the victim to survivor comment that you mentioned, really helps you understand closure. Once this is closed for her, maybe she can make that move.
It was 4 years ago.
It was 4 years
4
ago.
years ago. All right, we're going to go back in because now we are going to hear from the sister delivering again a victim impact statement.
Things often happen fast and without reason. I remember January 2021, I felt like things were on the up and up. Mario and Amy had just gotten engaged in December. I remember being so excited. Everything looked and felt different in a great way. I saved the date on my phone calendar. I imagined how I would look in my makeup and where I'd get my party dress, waiting with great anticipation for what was to come. It was a Monday like any other when it happened. No one in my family knew until it was too late. I cannot describe the anxiety I felt as I phoned Mario's school. No answer. I took a risk and sent a Reddit user a private message. On February 1st, a post was made on the San Diego subreddit about the gunshots heard in North Park that morning. Misfortune favors the bold. Immortalized in my Reddit inbox is confirmation that my brother, Mario Fierro, had passed. Homicide is a mourning situation with conditions. Your brother, who you exchanged words with the night before, is now the decedent. The apartment he lived in, once a figurative crime scene filled with dirty laundry and unwashed cups, has now become an actual crime scene. You want a straight answer, but there's an investigation going on. We can't have a funeral yet. The body hasn't been released. These were some of the hurdles faced in the weeks following Mario's passing. I wish that was the end of it. I wish the minute the priest uttered the last blessing at the gravesite, I would be absolved of my guilt and sadness. I remember I need to plant my feet on the ground. I was sad before February 1st, and the priest is just a guy in a robe who is saying words that mean something to someone, and that someone is not me. The days, months, and years that follow are just as challenging as the day I lost my brother. I saw and continue to see my parents in distress. I experienced a wake for the first time, and I saw Mario's embalmed, mutilated body. Therapy bills. I transitioned from being on regular antidepressants to taking a drug cocktail. Receiving unsolicited condolences from strangers. Running into problems at work. Running into problems with my family. Cleaning out Mario's apartment and throwing away things that now belong to no one. Crying for no reason. Having nightmares. Feeling lonely when there's people around. You'll ask yourself the same questions. What am I doing? Why am I here? What does it all mean? Maybe you'll realize questions like that aren't worth asking. Life doesn't require meaning to be valuable. The things that we experience do not require reason. I don't believe in retributive justice, even amidst what I have gone through. I do believe that actions have consequences, no matter how small. I have faith that this court will impart a sentencing to Jesse Alvarez, the killer of my brother, Mario Fierro, that is fair and just. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
All right, that was another victim impact statement again. And when she says the loneliness, the nightmares, the things she's experiencing, it really makes you feel how you can't imagine one must feel after losing their brother or loved one.
And highlights the importance of victim impact statements overall.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. All right, we need to take a break. When we come back, of course, we'll get back for more of the victim impact statements. Stay tuned.
Your first order.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcott.
And I'm Michael Ayala. We are covering the sentencing of Jesse Alvarez in the Lover Stalker Murder Trial in California. I'm going to get you back into court now, where the attorneys are now addressing the court, followed by the judge's sentencing.
We are here today, everyone's here today, because that defendant brutally executed Mario Fierro solely because his ex-girlfriend was in love with Mr. Fierro and not him. Mr. Fierro should be alive today. He deserved to be alive today. Mr. Fierro, if he was alive today, he'd be teaching his students, coaching his students in football, track, volleyball, He'd be spending time with his beautiful, loving family and his incredible friends. He would be married to Miss Gembarra, and frankly, I think everybody here believes that he would have been a father today as well, a very proud father like his own. Mr. Fierro is not here today because this defendant is a selfish, jealous, and possessive, cowardly man. He refused to let Miss Gembarra be happy. So he wanted to rob her of the man, of this incredible human being that made her happiest. He meticulously planned and plotted a brutal, vicious murder. And he did so in the most cowardly way, by taking him by surprise, by ambushing him and executing him. We're here today because unlike what the defendant told probation, that he's not a violent man, that he's a normal man, he is a cold-blooded, vicious murderer. Frankly, no sentence will be harsh enough for this defendant. No sentence will ever bring Mr. Fierro back. The people ask this court to impose the just and lawful sentence of life without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 25 years to life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Blair, anything else?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have filed a statement of mitigation, and it has included a pretty bold request that the court find the life without the possibility of parole is unconstitutional, as it's cruel and unusual under the 8th Amendment for someone who suffers so severely from autism spectrum disorder, as is reflected in Dr. Malik's psychological evaluation. The court is aware Mr. Alvarez tested off the charts essentially for autism. As a result, he's been in custody for a little over 4 years now. He's had significant health issues because of beatings. He was beaten with his own cane in the face to where he needed to have reconstructive surgery and plates put in his face. The person was sentenced in that case, I believe, to an additional 2 years in prison. He's been sexually assaulted. He's been physically assaulted. We've subpoenaed a good, I think, about all the records as it relates to the investigative reports, the medical reports, to get a guide, essentially, of what Mr. Alvarez's path has been throughout this case as he has been in custody. Most of the situations that have put him in harm's way have been because of his inability to assess situations, to assess dangers, to work within the population of a jail community, which is much different than the outside. And it's difficult enough for an autistic person to live on the outside, but to live in a high security, level 5 offender prison for someone who is in on a murder charge is essentially close to a death sentence for someone like Mr. Alvarez. So I understand it's a bold request, but that is our request to the court. Strike the LWOP allegation, and if the court is not inclined to, then to strike the firearm allegation because under 1385.
Under 1385.1.
Yes.
Yeah. Under 1385.1, the court, once a jury finds special circumstances, the court is powerless to strike any of the specials. That's pre-Prop 115. So Prop 115 was 92 or 93. So I don't have, even if I wanted to, I could not strike the specials, which I wouldn't if I had that power. I think there's ample evidence to prove the special. As to the 5-3, that is strikeable. But I see no reason, again, looking at all the evidence and the use of a firearm, I'm only going to refer to the firearm since it's a 5-3, is that the defendant acquired a weapon, he learned to use it, practiced with it, and then used it as the weapon that ended up killing Mr. Fierro. That's what 1222.53D was built for. That's what the voters voted for. I see no reason to strike the 5.3 or reduce it to a 0.5. Is there anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. McCarthy, anything else?
No, Your Honor, submitted.
All right. So, obviously... if
I may, Your Honor.
Yeah, go ahead. Does he want to make a statement in allocution?
This is what I'm checking.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Your Honor, I've inquired of my client, received no response, and for the record, Mr. Alvarez has had his head face down on the table this entire hearing.
Yes, he has. He's had his face down on the table now for 50 minutes. Okay. All right. Obviously, this is a tragic case and very difficult for the family and also...
We need to take a quick break. I feel bad for him, Michael, and I'm glad they put on the record he's been there with his face down the entire time. He didn't even respond to his attorney about whether or not he wants to make a statement.
Yeah, and I think his attorney knew he wouldn't. I just wanted that whole thing to be on the record.
Oh, it's very smart. All right, when we come back, we're going to hear from the judge and the sentencing. Keep it here on Court TV.
Tonight, on Closing Arguments, a young mother stands trial for murder after her daughter's disappearance. We'll bring you today's key moments from the Baby Evelyn murder trial.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
A 15-month-old Evelyn Boswell found dead on her family's compound.
This case is unlike anything I've ever been involved in.
Her own teenage mother charged with little Evelyn's murder.
We've heard some of the victim impact statements. Now let's go back into court for the judge's sentencing.
This is as cold-hearted as you can get, and it's just a tragedy. Mr. Fierro, I don't know him, obviously. I see the family, and he appeared to be a really nice guy, you know? Last person you'd think that would get murdered, right? He was living a life. He was loyal. He sounded like a great coach. But crossed the defendant's path. So the sentence is statutory, and I'll say it again under 1385.1. I'm not going to strike, nor could I strike special circumstances. Let's get a credit update.
1,466 actual, 0 PC 2933.2 for a total of 1,466 days.
Yeah. So there are two sentences here, right? The 5.3 allegation is 25 to life. The life without the possibility of parole on the first and the special is, like I said, life without the possibility of parole. This is for the family's sake. Theoretically, the defendant does his 25-year to life sentence first, and he gets actual credits on that. And then he serves his life without the possibility of parole sentence. They're consecutive sentences, at least today, right? So he gets credits, 1466, no good time credits, no 2933.1 credits. And that's confinement in the California Department of Corrections. Restitution pursuant to 1202.4B is $10,000. Court security is $40. Criminal assessment fee is $30. The restitution to the Fierro family and Amy Gembarra, I'm going to reserve restitution on the several claim numbers in on page 16 of the probation report, I'll incorporate those numbers by reference. The test pursuant to Penal Code Section 296 is to give a DNA test, and he may not possess or own any firearms, ammunition, or magazines. And the probation department completed that study, and he does not possess any firearms, ammunition, or magazines. The restitution, Mr. Alvarez, you have a right to appear at any restitution hearing or review or ability to pay hearing. Do you want to give that up and allow Mr. Blair to appear for you?
He does not, Your Honor.
All right, so we'll produce him if we need an evidentiary hearing.
All right, so we began there by saying that Jesse Alvarez will spend, in fact, the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole. Some technical stuff they were going through as far as restitution. Let's quickly bring in our guest joining us this hour, criminal defense attorney Laura Uretzian. Laura, great to see you. Thank you for joining us here on the show. Want to get your reaction. One of the things that jumped out to me was this is a man who has been found to have autism, and yet and still he'll be spending the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Well, remember that wasn't a defense, and that's not a defense. He's being sentenced. The laws are very clear, the sentencing laws, and that was an interesting argument. It was a very creative, innovative argument. But at the end of the day, the judge was going to sentence him to life without possibility of parole, which means he spends the rest of his life in prison, unless the lying in wait somehow, as a result of an appeal, is dismissed, or something happens, the conviction is overturned. That's what he's looking at this point.
All right. Thank you so much, Laura Uretzian, for joining us tonight.